Workers for Instacart are doing a massive walkout in order to protest current working conditions. So, Instacart is a grocery, shopping, and delivery service, which, for reasons we all know, is in high demand right now. And so they've decided that this would be a perfect time to do a nationwide and international strike. So now these workers are walking off the job, I should say, to demand safe working conditions, and are joined by protests by Amazon workers, uh, sanitation and public transit workers, and people in the auto, steel, and meatpacking industries. So we have a lot of worker solidarity going on, which I think is amazing. In fact, you have Amazon workers in Staten Island going on strike today. Workers at Whole Foods, also owned by Amazon, will be going on strike on Tuesday. Awesome. That is awesome. All right. So now let's get to what the workers are asking for. And I don't think these are really too outrageous demands. Now, Instacart workers or shoppers, as the company calls them, are demanding that the company institute safety measures for their workers. Now, what does that mean? Basically, they're asking for hand sanitizer, disinfectant wipes, and soaps at no cost. So, right now, of course, those things are necessary to do your job in public. Now, the CDC guidelines basically say to you that you should, in public, wash your hands, right? For at least 20 seconds when you have any sort of contact in the public, right? And make sure not to touch your face, too. So now, if you can't wash your hands, understandably, because you can't get into a sink, then you should have an ample supply of the correct type of hand sanitizer. And so, what Instacart employees are asking for is the company should be able to provide this because we consider this to be PPE, right? Our protective equipment on the job that we do since we have to interact in public. Again, that doesn't make like that's not too much of an ask, right? That's not, I think, that big of the thing that they're asking for. This is just basic, right? So now think of it as a cost of doing business in the current environment, right? Also considering how their business has increased quite a bit due to the current working conditions. I think they can afford it. All right, so now they also demand hazard pay, a $5 extra per order as hazard pay, and a default tip of 10% on the order total. Not only that, but workers also demand paid time off for people who are most at risk, including those with pre existing conditions that have certain risk factors, and people who have to self quarantine for 2 weeks. They also demand that the company extend the deadline to qualify for these benefits beyond April 8th. And so, again, I don't think that they're asking for too much here. They're not going crazy like, we demand $25 an hour immediately and 3 months of vacation time that you send us on a cruise, which would be a terrible idea, by the way, uh, given the current climate. But anyway, they're not asking for ridiculous things. They're asking for common sense, like, hey, we should get a little bit more pay. We're being pushed to our limit here. We're doing a lot, especially since a lot of people are staying home and self quarantining. And by the way, the health of our workers are also our workers are at risk since we're going out there, we're going to the stores, we're being in contact with other people, and with surfaces that could be hazardous to us. Those of us who are immunocompromised that are working should not have to, but since we still have to get paid, we should at least get something for this during this crisis, paid time off. And so all of that, of course, makes a ton of sense. So now, some of the shoppers, by the way, they basically vocalized why they're doing these demands. They said, actually, it was a full service shopper in Washington participating in the walkout. She said, "We don't feel safe at work, and we don't feel that we have the tools to keep customers safe." Yes, I agree. She says, "The shoppers I know who aren't sick certainly are certainly not at their mental best. It's a very dehumanizing and draining job right now. And that's not to say that it wasn't dehumanizing or draining before. It's that the demand has increased so much that people are being pushed to their limits. Now, Sarah, another shopper, says we haven't been offered any type of cleaning products or funds to purchase such products. We haven't been giving any real information on how to best take precautions. Um, they're doing the bare minimum and even making it hard for those who are sick to get any type of paid time off. So now, uh, obviously disastrous. Now, what the company is doing in response to when they heard about this walkout, they extended an offer to provide 14 days of pay to any worker who becomes sick with CS19 through May 8th. So it also announced bonuses for certain employees based on number of hours worked. The company, however, did not agree to pay hazard pay or to provide protective supplies. So really, they're kind of only partially doing the paid leave thing, and they're half-assing it at best, right? But here's the thing. I think the reason, like going back to the PPE thing, right? Going back to at least providing hand sanitizer, that's, I mean, shouldn't they be doing that already? I mean, look, it protecting the workers means protecting your customer base. I think they've lost sight of that, right? The more you protect your workers, especially in that kind of industry, the service industry, the more you protect your customers. And that's true in this job. That's true for fast food. For example, you make sure that people who are actually handling and preparing your food, well, you want to make sure that if they're sick, that they don't come into work sick and accidentally get you sick through the food. I mean, that should be like, yes, employee 101. We do not want workers to come in sick, so that we should have a paid sick leave provision, the one that is strong, that makes sure that, hey, look, if you're sick, you can take your time off. You come back when you're better, so that you don't make everybody around us in the restaurant sick, or more importantly, the customers. Because guess what? Customers who get sick, they're not going to come back. And so that should be, business 101, right? Well, unfortunately, business 101 seems to be like, we don't care about workers who are sick. We want them to come in anyway because profit margin. And so, yeah. But here's the thing, right? So now, let me get to another quote by Vanessa Bain, who, by the way, again, all of these workers have rejected that, offering from the company. She said, Vanessa did, Instacart's response to our demands lacks substance and does nothing to protect us. Conceding to one demand is way too little, way too late. They can kick rocks. Our call for an emergency walk-off still stands. Awesome. So, the thing that I've begun to notice is that a lot of people are starting to realize how much these workers actually do matter, how vital they are in this economy. And it's funny because these are the same jobs that people, not only a couple of months before, but literally like last month, were saying, that's not a real job. You don't deserve a living wage. You don't deserve $15 an hour. Go get a real job. Go get an education. Learn to code, flip houses. Do something like that. Learn a real skill if you actually want to get paid enough to live, or you want any sort of benefits like health care or some paid time off. No. Get a real job. Well, really? Now, how's your real jobs doing right now? People who say that. Look, a lot of people are either being laid off or in some, middle-class jobs. They can telework, which is great if you can do it and you can keep your job. But for those who can't, well, I mean, how's that real job coming, right? They might actually have to start working in this gig economy. And by the way, Instacart was looking to hire about 300,000 new workers during this time. And so they're about to find out how real that job is. But look, here's the thing. I've been saying this all along. There's no such thing as a fake job, right? Uh, Jobs wouldn't exist if there wasn't some sort of demand for them, right? And there just happens to be major demand for this, and there will be for quite some time. We're not going to be done with this or out of this crisis for a long time. For a long time, and so the problem, of course, is that we don't respect the workers who work these jobs. I mean, grocery store workers, delivery drivers, fast food workers. We don't respect them as a society, and that's bad. And of course, since we don't respect them, we don't pay them very well. And the same is for a lot of these gig economy workers. Many workers are considered self-employed. They're independent contractors. Hey, you know who else is an independent contractor? Me. Um, and so that means, of course, that you're not guaranteed a minimum wage. I actually don't get paid in wages. I get paid in ad revenue. And of course, memberships and things like that. I'm not saying patreon.com/TYTNation. I'm just saying I don't get paid by anybody. I don't get a normal paycheck. Um, and neither do these people generally. I mean, they get, for one order of groceries, they get about $7. That's according to a former shopper, right? They don't get paid time off normally. Instacart does not contribute to unemployment insurance. So if they lose that gig or if they don't have any, people to shop for, they don't get unemployment. So they really don't get a lot of things. And here's the thing, too. There are even Instacart shoppers that are full-time employees. They assemble order in grocery stores, but don't make deliveries or receive tips. And so they don't make a lot of money either, right? And to top it off, while they're in the grocery store, they don't have any protective gear. And that's being in contact all day with people and things that have been infected or may have been infected. That's not good. That's terrible. And so again, least they can do, hand sanitizer. But understand the business model of companies like Instacart is based on not having their employees as actual employees. It's kind of how they make their money, right? And so in order to, make those profits, they do it on the basis of not having a specific actual labor force, right? Of just having contractors who are not covered by labor laws. And so it's a dream for companies. It's a nightmare for working people. And that's why this strike is that important. It's so important, right? It shows the values of people's labor at a time where the services are needed the most. And when you get the most attention, it also shows how at risk these people are. These people who we don't take care of. They don't have health insurance. And to go back to an earlier point, it's super easy to tell people to get a better job. But with 3.3 million people filing unemployment claims in just 1 week alone, and the economy heading into a recession, it doesn't seem like it's so easy after all. These workers and all frontline workers, they deserve a living wage. They deserve adequate safety, paid time off. And I think we all deserve healthcare through Medicare for all. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.